Welcome to Uncommon Courtesy.
Where we give you the courtesy of conversation.
That's uncommonly spoke of.
I'm D-Mac.
I'm Wesley.
And this is the show. So, man, a lot of stuff's been going on since the last time we viewed it. Before we get started, like, listen, share, subscribe. Hit that bell ring so you can see every time that we drop something.
Yeah, it helps us out a lot when y'all subscribe to the channel, when y'all like things. Make sure you push our videos up to the top. Want to start with a case that happened with a US Air Force officer. A Florida sheriff publicly released body cam footage from a deputy who fatally shot a black airman in his home last week. Disputed claims from the victim's family that the deputy had gone to the wrong apartment. County Sheriff Eric Aiden showed the video during Thursday's news conference. Shortly after, an attorney for the 23-year-old airman's family called for his public release, saying the victim's girlfriend was FaceTiming with him and believes the deputy was at the wrong unit. The victim was identified by his family as Roger Fortson, an active duty service senior airman. According to attorney Ben Crump, who held a news conference earlier Thursday, Crump and Fortson's mother described him as a patriot who respected authority and hoped to buy his mother and younger siblings a house. Man, just watching that video.
Yes, just watched it.
It's like, it's kind of crazy. It's real disheartening to watch the video because it doesn't look like he came to the door. He had a firearm.
He had a firearm. He did not aim it at the police officer. He opened the door.
And
the cops, he shot him because I was just watching the video and I was like, yo, there's not that much time left in here. I'm like, oh, they killed him quick.
It's cut and dry. You know what I mean? Like you said, it's cut and dry. He did come to the door with a gun, but the officer was saying, I heard the officer at least say twice. He knocked on the door and said,
"Sheriff's office, open the door."
Open the door. And so, I don't know if we want to start from where all this stemmed from. Like he was called to the unit because they said there was a disturbance in the unit. A couple people said that they had heard.
They've had domestic issues before, but they say this time it was super loud and get out of hand, which was weird because if his girlfriend wasn't there, then you probably were at the wrong unit. And I'm like, did the police even go to the other unit? I mean, it's still a developing story, so we got to get all the facts. Yeah. But one thing is, as a black man, you can't answer the door with a gun in your hand when the police are there.
I mean, the one
unless
thing
you're ready to shoot them.
The one thing I can say in its favor is that we know that people, even criminals, they like to say police before they kick your door in or something else goes wrong, you know? And so him coming to the door with a gun, and it wasn't in a position for him to shoot, but at the same time, this is a police officer or anybody. When you see a gun like that, you're going to, it's going to kind of jostle you. What, are you going to give them a chance to kill you? I mean, so I understand kind of where the police officer came from, but if he came to the wrong address, or if they called and it was not, I mean, someone called the police and this was not a case of some type of domestic issue or something like that. I mean, you just killed a 23-year-old service member for no reason.
Yeah.
It looked like he killed him for no reason anyways, to me, to be honest with you, because he did have a gun in his hand. And I don't know if that constitutes.
Well, he wasn't aiming it at him, but I mean, I've seen dudes with other weapons in their hands get more lenient. I mean, that's different. It's different states, different police officers.
It doesn't matter, man. All that, we do that all the time.
Yeah.
We do that all the time. We do that for judges. We do that all the time for everybody. Oh, this happened here. This doesn't happen over here. This wouldn't have happened this way here. It's happening. Point blank, period. It's happening over and over and over again. I don't care who, where, what. It didn't. Like I said, it's a hard one to kind of call so early.
Yeah. I mean, if they're at the wrong apartment, the cop's in the wrong. Because the man has a right to answer you have a right to answer your door armed, especially in certain areas in Florida. I mean, it's an open carry state. You can do whatever. And like you were saying off camera, someone could have just been knocking on the door trying to rob him. And
so, yeah, exactly. And that's the biggest thing. People have gone through that a lot, where people will say they're the police, and next thing you know, they're kicking your door, and it's happening a lot. But what I will say about the police department in this particular county is that they're handling it the right way. They brought the footage from the body cam out quickly. They're letting an outside agency handle the investigation. They're not, and so it's not.
Well, I mean, the whole thing, it was, if you look at it, it's a justified shooting. They may have had the wrong door, but he answered the door with a firearm. Now, the cop, he never presented himself in front of the door, which is probably a safety thing.
For them too as well. And so it's how do you get around these things?
Yeah.
This is what they're going to have to figure out. How do we get around?
I mean, I've seen worse. I mean, this could just been an accident, It could. I mean, honestly,
like an accident to have happened, though. You know what I mean? Somebody to lose their life.
Yeah,
that's a tough.
Well, I mean, don't answer I mean, it's a weird case. I've seen worse where cops just shoot people regularly, and those are like, hey, what are you doing? But this time, the guy answered the door with the gun, just like this suspect. The one guy, what's his name? Here, I got it right here. He was Seattle police fatally shoot alleged pedophile during brief standoff. And they showed the footage where the cops were, he was an ex, let me see if I can find his name. The special suspect was 67. He was an ex-military man. He was in the Navy. He came to sleep with a 7 and 9-year-old. It was a sting operation. They opened up the door, and when he saw the police, he whipped the gun out, and the cops had to do it, and they shot him.
That's a totally different ball game right here. This person, he saw it was the police, and he went to go.
But he went and reached for his gun, and the cops rushed him. Now, these cops, they make quick decisions, life or death situations. They have to.
You have to.
Excuse me, the girls were 7 and 11 that he came to see at a DoubleTree hotel. You know what I'm saying? But they had to make a quick decision because if they didn't, they would have been dead. So this cop, all you hear, and
like 20 something.
And I'm not one to defend police officers, but I mean, I have to go both situations. When you're told that you're going up to a domestic dispute and it's getting out of hand up there before you get there, your mind's already thinking this woman's getting beat up or someone's getting assaulted. So you're already going. You're already ready to go.
Yeah, so, and then if he got a gun in his hand, you don't know if he's holding this person hostage.
You don't know if he shot her yet or not.
It almost gets to the point to when you're having to like go off of who's giving you the information.
Yeah,
like these people they may have given false information to him about and sent him to the wrong door. Now he's facing, possible manslaughter charges, all kind of stuff because of the lack of information that he truly had.
Yeah, like I mean, for this one, I can't hold it against the cop because he didn't open the door and just see a black dude and shot him. He opened the door. He saw a gun. He saw a gun in his hand.
He did. I got him. Like I say, this one right here.
It's like watching a replay in sports. You're like, oh, why would he do that? Why would he throw this? I would have done this, but that's Monday us having time to look at it. We're not acting in real time.
That's called Monday morning quarterbacking right there.
Yeah,
really. You know what I mean? And so, at the end of the day, like I said, we got to learn. I want to see this one develop. I know Attorney Ben Crump's on the case right now, trying to. He's a prolific black lawyer who's very much an activist lawyer who takes care of business, and if there's anything to be had out of this, fleshed out of this, he'll get to the bottom of it. And so let's look forward to seeing how this case resolves itself instead of us just kind of jumping on and piling on to what's could have possibly been an accident.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, he had to think quick thinking. I mean, I can't I watched the video and I can't say he did that because he was black. No, the guy answered the door. He thought it coming to a domestic dispute. The man answered the door with a gun. It's what the cop's supposed to do. Yeah, that's what your training is for.
Absolutely.
So I can't knock him for that. But speaking of things going on right now, I want to talk about this Iowa law. Iowa law lets police arrest migrants. The federal government and civil rights groups are suing. Let's read a little bit. The U.S. Justice Department sued Iowa on Thursday over its new law that would give the state the authority to arrest and deport some migrants, making it the second lawsuit filed in a single day that seeks to block legislation passed earlier this year by state lawmakers. Both the Justice Department lawsuit and other lawsuits filed by civil rights and immigrant rights groups argued that the state law preempted by federal law and should be declared invalid.
So they're just basically giving them the right to just arrest migrants, just like they see, like anybody who they think or they want to. It's pretty much a harassment law.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
They had it in Texas already, where they were able to stop Mexicans and check their papers.
You look at Iowa. What kind of a state are they? I mean, it's pretty much almost going. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're that's an agricultural state. It's agricultural. It's
farmland.
A lot of farmland. Ranches, all that kind of stuff like that. And so. I believe a lot of their workers are probably migrant workers. So what is that going to do for them? Is this going to be able to put them in situations where they can just now have them work?
Well, it seems like they can just harass anybody now. They can just stop you and be like, hey, are you from America? I'll be like, the tax money you take from me says I am.
I think that, just giving us a equal footing on the other side of it too. You look at places like, I don't like to bring up this place, but a place like Chicago even.
Yeah.
They have a really high Latin population in Chicago. And so where are you going to go if you're somebody who's looking to sneak into the country and you want to blend in? You're going to go somewhere where there's a lot more of you.
Yeah.
And so even when there's a place like in Iowa, we're looking at it as like just farmland and just, and cow, cow.
Are they going to do them like they do people in California, where it's like, if you can't prove who you are, we're going to lock you up until we prove who you are.
They're definitely going to do that.
Yeah.
They're already doing that right now. Believe me, they're doing that already. You know how this is. This is backwoods. They're going to get away with whatever they want to do. Whatever they want to do, they're going to do it. I've seen been in situations where this is what they do. And so all they've done is give them the license to be able to, hey, go do what you want to go do, handle it how you want to handle it. It just, these kind of laws right here, I think they had the same kind of law they're trying to put in place in Georgia too.
Really? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they did put it in Georgia. Yeah, where they can arrest them.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is.
Maybe there's not enough space. I mean, just like here, we got a story coming out of Portland, Oregon. First of all, they took back their legal drug law. They said it backfired on them, and now Portland, Oregon okays new homeless camping rules that threaten fines or jail in some cases. I'm just read the top headline here. It's from MSN. Homeless people who camp on public property in Portland, Oregon, and reject offers of shelter could be fined up to $100, or sentenced up to 7 days in jail under new rules approved anonymously by the city council on Wednesday. When shelter is not available, the same penalties apply for blocking sidewalks, using gas heaters, or starting fires, or having belongings more than 10 feet, 0.6 meters outside of the tent.
I mean, so yeah, basically this is what we've already kind of been, what we talked about over there in Portland. This is gonna, I mean, really, this could end up being like they take this, say someone takes this to the Supreme Court. Yeah, you know what I mean, I think maybe it may end up having to be state by state. Yeah, but you would think that a place like Oregon
is horrible. If anyone's been to Portland, let me tell you, I took my son down to Portland, him and his friends. As soon as you cross the bridge from Washington and you get to Oregon, all you see is tents lined up.
Man, I've been down there.
Oregon, Portland is bad.
It's bad. It's bad. It's like Seattle. Seattle's pretty bad too. Yeah, a lot of these places.
Now Seattle's bad, but it ain't Portland bad. I ain't never seen that. And I go to Seattle frequently. I ain't never seen nothing like I did in Portland.
I mean, because they've kind of given them carte blanche to do kind of what they.
It was so bad there. We had to leave. I was gonna take my kids to an arcade, but the arcade, the front of it was covered up by homeless people. Jeez. And so I was like, nah, we had to leave out of Portland to go do stuff. Like the only place we made it to was the Rose Garden because it was too far away from them to go sleep and stuff.
I know they got like a place I normally like to go to. They have like a bunch of food trucks and all that just lined up down the street. And I know they had some, like it was either by there or close to there's a huge homeless encampment. It was like in the middle of Portland. Portland's a city. It's not like a country ass city. It's a city.
No, it's a city. It's nice, a big city.
You know what I mean? Like it's cool, you know? And so I was like, damn, man, like they're letting Portland go to hell.
Portland's it's going to hell, but a lot of places are going to hell. You can't afford to live anywhere. And by the time you get a job, think about it. If you fall as an adult these days, you can't bounce back. You can't make enough to bounce back. You won't even be able to get stable on your feet enough to bounce back. So that's why you keep having so many homeless people. You don't pay people enough. The rent's too damn high. It costs too much to eat.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I'm like, you know, you look at it like they speak negatively of California. They speak negatively of Washington, Seattle, you know, of course. And then, you know, you also got Portland in this. But we have large populations, too, of people. Yeah. It's not like, you know, these cities aren't like, you know, places in the middle of nowhere, you know, to a degree. I won't say like Wyoming, where there's not a lot of people who live in the state.
And nobody want to live in Wyoming.
There's people.
There's people that want to live. I shouldn't talk that way. There's people that like. Well, I don't want to live in Wyoming. I need to live by a big ocean.
They got ranch land. That might be a good place to buy some good property out there. I think it's a little cheaper out in Wyoming. But and so like laws like this, if these kind of laws spread, I mean, now you can fine people for basically being homeless.
That's what they're doing. I mean, now they have things now where like they have it on the benches where they make them where you can't sleep on them anymore.
It's like for birds almost to a degree. You know how on the
they put the
little poke things on.
Yeah,
top
you have to, man. You know how much bird poop was around everywhere.
Now they're talking about they're doing this to the homeless.
Yeah, the homeless people they're making it so you can't sleep on the benches. They're putting like spikes on the ground, so it's harder for you to sleep. It's crazy. It's like you let these rich folks create all these problems, and then you don't want to fix them.
You think it was rich people who created the problem of homelessness?
Yeah, American greed. Okay. Of course.
I'm just saying. You know,
I mean, they're making a bunch of weird laws. Just like we have one here coming out of Ohio. They're going to say mass student protesters, the ones that are protesting the genocide in Gaza, could face felony charges under the anti-KKK law, Ohio attorney says. He says Ohio's top lawyer has advised the state's public universities that a law written to deter the Ku Klux Klan demonstrations could be used to impose felony charges on students who wear face covering while protesting the war in Gaza.
That's crazy. You know why they don't want them to wear face coverings?
So they can tell who they are.
So they can tell who they are.
Because it's already going down. Remember, and we have another article here where it's saying judges are telling the kids, federal judges, if you graduate from Columbia, we're not hiring you. Let me read a piece of that.
They should be fired for discriminatory practices right there. This is why the diversity
DEI
is very, very important.
Yeah, Columbia University is facing more backlash over pro-Palestinian campus protests. This time it's from more than a dozen conservative federal judges who penned a letter over the weekend to Columbia president to inform her they won't consider Columbia grads for clerkships or other gigs, but students from the university law school and in general, reports the Wall Street. The 13 judges, all appointees of former President Trump, note they'll effectively blackball any student who studies at the Columbia starting with the fall entering class.
They should be fired for that. All of them should have their jobs removed for ever even posting something like that. And like that goes back to like, reminds me of like Jim Crow. Yeah. It reminds me of all those type of laws right there. This is where this is heading right now. We're allowing so much to kind of pass us by and we're not paying attention to it. But this is what these laws are starting to bring us back to. When we're starting to repeal voting rights and all this other.
When we're taking away people's freedom of speech. Because I got an article that passed something else. Them trying to take our First Amendment rights away.
It's just,
they're trying to say you can't refer. They're trying to say you can't refer to Israel as Nazis. How dare you? How dare you tell me what I can and can't say in America?
Like you say, man, this is what a lobby does as well. They've got such a strong lobby. AIPAC is such a strong lobby. Look it up. Look up AIPAC. They're such a strong lobby. They've gotten our Congress people on the payroll. They're coming to their defense. Now they got the judges telling you they're not going to hire people from American universities. This is a blanket statement from your university at all. For what? You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard. To me, overwhelmingly, I have not heard anti-Semitism at all. I haven't heard that. There might be isolated cases of it, but during 9/11, there was a huge sentiment of harassment towards Muslims,
and everybody was cool with it.
You know what I mean? Like towards people, Middle Eastern people in general. We didn't come out with all these laws. There weren't people running to the aid of these people like this at all. It doesn't happen. But like this small segment rules so much of our economy that this is what happens when something small like this occurs.
Yeah, it's crazy to show who actually runs America, because it ain't Americans.
They run America.
Period. They run it. Period. They run it all. So that's pretty sad. Here I want to talk about this. So TikTok is suing the United States government, folks. We're still in the clear. Allegedly, they're suing them for forcing the ban or the sale of violate, and they say it violates the First Amendment right, aligning free speech violations. TikTok filed a federal lawsuit seeking to block a new law that would force the sale of or banning of the app. So actually, what's crazy? They're not forced to sell the app. They either have to sell the app or they have to pay so much money for each user. So it'd be $850 billion. It'd be an $850 billion fine for TikTok, and the company could keep it.
So they just want. Why they want to pay $850 billion? What does this make? Why? You know what I mean?
Why they want to get rid of TikTok? Because they can't control it.
Why do they want them to pay a fine for it?
Well, that's the difference. It's either they sell it or they got to pay a fine. The fine is for they have to pay so much money for every user that they have.
Is it because they've allowed access to certain information already? Is it because, have they sold certain information already? And this is why they're asking. That's what I'm wondering. Like, why?
No, they're the main reason they won't tell you why.
A lot of money for
the main reason. The number one thing that trends on Twitter right now is the Gaza cost.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one thing, and they can't control it. Everywhere else, you can stop. Twitter, X, they're letting it fly. Mm-hmm. Facebook, I don't see none of that stuff on Facebook. Facebook ain't playing. Instagram, not really. You know what I'm saying? But all the TikTok, that's where they get their information. That's where they're sharing pictures and stuff. Just like a report we had here.
That's really true, though. I don't really see a lot of it on Facebook.
No, not at all. You don't see any news on Facebook.
But you got to remember who runs. Look at Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Same guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Zuckerberg.
Speaking of Israel, disturbing news. At a military base that now doubles as a detention center in Israel's Negev desert, an Israeli working at the facility snapped 2 photographs of a scene that he says continues to haunt him. Rows of men in gray tracksuits are seen sitting on paper-thin mattresses, ring-fenced by barbed wire. All appear blindfolded, their heads hanging heavy under the glare of floodlights. A putrid stench fills the air in the room, humid with the men's murmurs. The Israeli who was at the facility told CNN, forbidden from speaking to each other, the detainees mumbled to themselves. We were told they were not allowed to move. They should sit upright. They're not allowed to talk, and they're not allowed to peek under the blindfold. So this is a whistleblower. We have pictures, ladies and gentlemen, of these detainees. And not all these people are Hamas.
Most of them are not Hamas. Most of what they did, like we talked about last episode, what they did was whenever they went to a place and they bombed it, and whoever was left over, whoever they caught, they rounded them up and they put them in detention centers. It's like if someone were to invade America and then go through each city by city. And whoever didn't get away or run away, they round you up and put you in a detention center, and then they abuse you. Like this guy said, guards were instructed to scream "Uskat," that means shut up in Arabic, and told to pick people out that were problematic and punish them. The source added, you know what I mean? So
they're saying they're having to decapitate or cut off people's hands because they've been in handcuffs so long. And they say the people that are doing the surgeries aren't even real doctors; they're medical students. And
so it becomes almost like a torture when they're doing it. You know, the person. I mean, this is coming from Israelis, people who are at the facility.
Are inside the. They said it's haunting them.
The pictures,
they have pictures of people laying on beds in diapers and blindfolded.
The pictures that were taken were not snapped like where people, where this person's taking a picture. They took the picture kind of sneak. Had to do it on the sneak because they don't want people knowing, because this could get them put in a situation, because they're not. This is war crimes that they're committing right here. When you have most of these people, I'm watching them piling them into the back of like dump trucks. They're piling these dudes in the back of dump trucks and just like on top of each other. You know what I mean? To the point to where there's no room for them, blindfolded, handcuffed or whatever they are, like string tied, wherever they got them, tight as they can, and then driving them to wherever facility they're at, beating them when they get there, and then they're asking them questions. Are you a Hamas? Are you this? I mean, they know what they're doing. That's why they're going to have that when in the peace agreement. That's why they said that. They were like, hey, we'd like to have. There's a 30-1 hostage kind of a exchange. 30-1. The only reason it'll be 30-1, people are like, wow, you guys are really doing a great job giving them a lot more hostages. Israel's giving the people from Gaza a lot more hostages than what they're getting back. It's because you just took random people, man. They took random people to Hamas did.
Yeah.
They took random civilians. They did. But you guys have thousands of people that you took and who have nothing to do with any of this.
And it's crazy because the current president, Joe Biden, as I say, the current president, Joe Biden, is actually facing, he's stopping weapons going to Israel because he said Rafah was his red line. But now, since he's doing that because he sees it's going to be a more of a genocide, there's Republicans and Democrats coming out to try to impeach him over this.
I mean, it's tough right now, man, for him.
I don't think he's going to make it to the next term.
I mean, he's looking pretty old too. I watched it.
I'm just saying, you're banning TikTok. You're funding a genocide. All Trump got to do is sit around and shut up.
If he can do it,
he can win.
Just sit around and shut up.
And shut up.
That's what beat him last time. He didn't know how to sit around and shut up. I'm like this, man. The biggest thing that I can see from this, he's really in a catch-22. I mean, because in reality, if you don't help out Israel, it doesn't look good for you and your party, because they're not going to, AIPAC puts a lot of money. They're a lobby. They put a lot of money into campaigns.
But if you do help them out, you're gonna be known as a monster.
Yep. Your youth vote's gone. Your black
folks gone. And we can talk about that right now here. Speaking of the black vote, Morehouse students conduct protests ahead of Biden's speech. They say several students of Atlanta Historically Black College and Universities, HBCUs, gathered at Morehouse College Wednesday for a protest of the war in Gaza and President Biden's support of Israel. The students are upset that Biden is scheduled to deliver a commencement address for the Morehouse graduation ceremony on May 19th. And one student said, while I understand why some of the older alumni might be excited by the amount of opportunity and press that would bring to the institution, the general feeling on the ground is, we don't want him here, said a Morehouse student who identified himself as Malik P. Declined to give his full last name. I would too. It's very obvious that we're just being used to score political points and try to get more black votes.
I mean, and that's a fact.
It's what it is.
I mean, the president of the United States is going to a historically black college during an
election year.
Exactly. And so it's kind of like, that's exactly what you can see is going on right here. This is just a photo op.
Yeah, that's all it is.
And so who did Kamala Harris go to Morehouse? What school did she go to?
I don't know. She got a whole bunch of hip hop questions wrong, and I ain't like her after since.
She went to a HBCU. She did. It might have been Morehouse. I can't remember the one she went to. So if it was that one, I might give a little bit more of a pass on it, because I can kind of see where it makes sense. But I understand the photo opportunity that it's given them. The president of the United States coming to your university. That's big.
It's a big photo op.
That's
huge. You can say, hey, I met the president. I mean, the one president I don't want to meet, though, is the one that runs Boeing.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought Donald Trump was Teflon Don. Yo, 2 accidents on Boeing 737 passenger jets took place Thursday. One in Senegal, a 737 caught fire and skidded off the runway as it was preparing to take off, injuring at least 10 people. And then in Turkey, a tire of a Boeing 737-800 aircraft burst upon landing. The 190 people on board were safely evacuated. And just one day earlier, a Boeing 767 FedEx plane landed in Istanbul airport without its front landing gear deployed, and it went nosediving.
Yeah, there's some rocket that they're putting out there too. That a certain portion of, I guess, certain portion of it that Boeing's working on. It's not their fault what's going on, because there's two portions of it. One portion I think has something to do with another company, and the other but it still has their name on it.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? It's still and so
Boeing used to be such a respectable company. It's just crazy to watch them falter and kill all the whistleblowers. That's what they're doing. Like, you can't have just two die like that.
Yeah, man.
The one guy, he was healthy, killed himself. The other guy was healthy, got some weird disease.
Died. You know what I mean? So yeah, Boeing's going through it right now. They're really, I mean, at the end of the day, they'll come out of this unscathed.
They're singing Jim Jones, "We Fly High, No Lie," and you know this. Ballin'.
I don't know. I think people are going to kick back some of their orders, man. I think they had a big order kickback on them already. I believe. I can't. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with this one right here, but I think that Boeing's definitely putting itself in a tough position. I think the 737 is really going to be. They've had, like I say, the trio of accidents. Came to a whistleblower. They're basically saying that Boeing's trying to say they got some parts that had were defective fuselage parts were delivered to Boeing. So they're trying to act like some of this stuff it
wasn't them. But Boeing, like I said, Boeing used to be a great manufacturer. Mm-hmm. But see, what happens was, when you get people that get in there for profit, they tell you to cut corners, and that's what's going on. But the whole thing is too. It's like, so what? Let's say 7 planes had accidents this year, right? Out of 100,000 that are in the air every day, these 7, and that's only they get play. Now, if they started telling you, hey, this plane's landed correctly, if they told you every perfect landing, you'd be upset. You'd be like, I want to hear about this BS. Like, who cares? I ain't going nowhere. I ain't got no money to fly.
I mean, they moved out of Washington State. They moved their headquarters out of Washington State, and it's just been like, I mean, that's a long time ago they did that. So
yeah,
can't really.
They're still in Washington, aren't they?
They got it, but their headquarters, I don't think is. I think it's like in Charlotte or somewhere else.
They ain't got nothing to do with me. Hey, that makes sense why they're doing bad now.
So I mean, they're still here, but they're not headquartered out of here anymore. So.
And then a couple more topics here. I want to talk about Sudan's Rapid Support Force may have committed genocides as fighters executed thousands of civilians who desperately attempted to flee the West Darfur region last summer. This is according to Human Rights Watch, which collected the testimonies of over 200 witnesses who described children still alive being pulled up and shot by RSF fighters as part of the ethnic cleansing campaign against the Mazalt people and other non-Arab communities.
So what I want to say about this is I was watching this.
That's sad.
I was actually watching this video of this right here, and they're saying that, and I almost liken it back to what they're doing to these kids in Gaza. Not to switch subjects. We're gonna stay on.
No, it's the same thing.
But okay, if you're killing a bunch of kids, man, that to me is a form of ethnic cleansing. That's your next generation that you're doing. They're killing kids. Man.
Yeah, to make sure that nobody can come back.
And this is why this is so important over here in Sudan, because it's happening over here, but nobody's talking about it. This is being swept under the rug. There's hundreds of thousands of people who are displaced, don't have anywhere to go. The encampments that you see in Gaza are nothing compared to what's going on in Sudan. And people aren't. I mean, imagine the famine that's going on over there, the humanitarian crisis that's happening in Sudan, and nobody's speaking about it. They have a way bigger population than what they have in Israel.
Yeah.
And so what do you think's happening? And
what's happening in Israel, not to bring it up, is that they know why they're killing all them. They want that land. Mm-hmm. And they're going to kill those people and then get that waterfront land. And see, in Sudan, they want to keep that quiet because if all those people die, then they can take that land too. That's all it's about. Resources. I mean, then you have 2 opposing forces fighting. I'm sure they're being funded by some covert superpower somewhere. And America don't care about no kids. If they did, they would have done something with the Catholic Church when they were molesting all the children. If Americans cared about kids, they would have released the Epstein list.
Yeah. I mean, so I feel like we got to keep on talking
America's
about this thing
on some fuck the kids shit. Literally.
I mean, it's a cold place to be in.
Prove me wrong. If America cared about the kids, they would have swept through Hollywood when all the people were giving up them names. What's it? The 2 Corys.
Corys, yep.
The Corys. They've named these people, and these people are still in power. You have people from Nickelodeon molesting kids, and they're still in power.
What I will say,
they don't care about these children. That's why I don't care about these genocides.
But what I will say, as far as being America, it's a tough job to be America, because you have to be the boss of everything. It's like, okay, this is going on over here. I got to go over here and go fight. Okay, this is going on over here. But in reality, it doesn't matter. Whoever you put in power, you're just propping up somebody for someone else to come in and put a little more money in his pocket, and then they run off and doing what they want them to do. You look at our next door neighbor. Our backyard neighbor, who is like Venezuela. the country with the largest known oil reserves in the entire world. We got Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is making a defense pact with us. They're already kind of on our side. We have bases in Saudi Arabia. That's one of our partners right there. More or less, but more than less. And then you have, so we could be energy independent with Venezuela on our team, but for some reason we can't get these guys to kind of coalesce and go along with what we want them to do. It's because what happens is someone else comes in, sweeps in, offers them a little bit more money, prop somebody up in place, and we can't just go in there and destabilize them.
Yeah,
hey, we killed the leader, and then everyone's pointing at us like, "Hey, you killed the leader." They're destabilized. Now they got someone comes in, puts a coup in place. Now you
just like in Niger where they're kicking all the troops out.
It's just a problem. You know what I mean? So it's tough to be the world's policeman. Yeah, it's kind of who we are, and we kind of got to be that, but we can't blame ourselves for every single problem. I know that when we look at Sudan, I want to keep talking about Sudan because the people look like us. So it's important for us to speak about that. It's important for us to know about that and talk about that between ourselves and not just talk about Gaza and Israel and Ukraine.
Because there's a lot of atrocities going on in the world
around the world, but especially things that are happening to people who they may not even agree with us as being who we are, but it's good for us to talk about because it's been going on for a long time. And it's been swept under the rug, and it's been and it's been just recycled. Last year. So we definitely and we have to watch out who we elect because sometimes we get idiots in office. Yeah. Speaking of idiots, I want to talk about Governor John DeSantis. He's the governor of Florida. John DeSantis.
Yeah, John DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis.
John DeSantis. He recently signed a law blocking an ordinance that would provide crucial heat protection for workers. This means no mandatory shade, water, rest breaks.
Hold on. Read that again for me real quick, please. Yes.
Governor John DeSantis recently signed a law blocking municipalities. I hope I got that word. Municipalities okay. From enacting ordinances that would provide crucial heat protection for workers. This means no mandatory shade, water, rest breaks. Despite Torres witnessing a coworker got death from heat stroke and other emergency hospitalized due to relentless sun. You live in Florida.
You know what, man?
And you are the governor of Florida. And you're telling people you can't do nothing. They don't have to cover you up and protect you for nothing. You get what you vote for.
Like, these are the states right here, man. Like, when we talk about, these guys are doing it right over here. This is also what they're doing. Stuff like this, where they're taking away workers' rights. And now they said there's been an uptick of people dying in workplaces and having heat stroke and dying of heat stroke at work. Yeah. Who do you think is going to affect more than anyone else? People who are poorer because they have to accept certain jobs just because they don't have the money to say, I'm not going to take it. And so these people are also stripping it. Yeah, it seems like they're being tough on people. They put in place the squatter law, which was good for people who own real estate, which is good. I agree with that law.
Yeah.
However, they come back then and now they want to strip away workers' rights, like stuff that we've gone hundreds of years to try and get. Basic right to shade, water. I mean, are you serious, man? Yeah. That's basic. Those are basic human needs.
That's what you get what you vote for. This guy, he shouldn't have been in office. They did some trickery to get him in there.
Yeah.
And now he's in there, and that's what you get. You get, and so it's like, not everyone agrees with this in Florida. They're saying on April 11th, under the pushback against heat safety measures comes directly from the industry lobbyists. On April 11th, under their influence, DeSantis signed a bill that also cuts back child labor protection, but includes a controversial ban on local heat safety measures.
I mean, just listen to where they're heading with this. Y'all think this is all funny. Oh, yeah, those states over in California, those liberal states, they don't, this, that, and the third. But pretty soon they're going to be taking away your right to even be able to assemble and be in a union.
It's crazy,
what
though.
Union did, what was that union? I think they were in, I'm not sure what state, but it was like some type of automotive union or something like that, the car dealerships. And they got each of your union members like $10,000 because they worked a deal to help them get like stock options. Or
unions are good. I've been in a couple of years.
Yeah, what they're going to start doing is repealing all the rights that you have. You're talking about all this regulation. This is what regulation is. Regulation is it helps you so that when you're in China, a building with 40,000 people just doesn't collapse on top of itself, because those are called regulations.
Regulations help you. So when you're in your backyard and something breaks, you can, in a city or a gas leak happens, you know what I'm saying? Someone can come and fix it instead of keep it leaking. Now, it's crazy. A lot of people are looking at Texas like they're doing it right. They're doing it right. And a lot of people fled and moved to Texas. You know what happened? They all moved right back to their states because they ain't like what was going on in Texas.
Man, I mean, look at Texas is flooding, right? I think Texas is just having some floods.
Are they flooding or are they frozen? It's a lot of weird stuff going on in Texas. Such a big state.
They had some floods down there just here recently, I believe. It's been going on everywhere. It's been a lot of extreme weather events. But to get back to Florida, man, this is what you get when you get people who are extreme. He's an extremist, period, plain and simple. I'm not saying that some of the laws they give you aren't going to be helpful, but most of what you get it's going to be things they take away from you. And you think that it's fine and dandy until it starts affecting you in your workplace, and it will eventually.
Yeah.
And so,
well, let us know what you think. Uncommon Courtesy. Like, listen, subscribe, hit that bell. Let us know what you think about it. We talked about in the comments. And once again, Uncommon Courtesy.